Welcome back to Bills Nation Daily, where the passion never cools down and every yard, every play, and every bit of locker room buzz gets the deep dive it deserves. And man, this week, there's plenty to unpack because the Bills and the Buccaneers are getting ready for one of those games that could set the tone for the rest of their seasons. Two teams, both dealing with their own sets of problems, both trying to find their rhythm, and both with fan bases that expect a lot more than just almost there. Let's start down in Tampa Bay, where the main conversation isn't just about matchups or play calling. It's about bodies. The injuries have been piling up, and it feels like every week the Bucs are holding their breath just to see who's healthy enough to suit up. But finally, there's a flicker of good news. Bucky Irving might be back. And if he is, that's a huge deal for this offense. Remember, there were expectations that he'd return right after the bye week, but the coaching staff decided to play it safe. No practice, no risk, no chance of aggravating that shoulder injury. And honestly, that was the smart move. The last thing they needed was another Mike Evans situation. Rush a guy back too soon, he takes a hit, and suddenly he's gone for the season. But now things feel different. Bucky was back out there on Wednesday, limited in the walkthrough, but practicing. Todd Bowles told the media they're going to monitor him closely through the week before making a final decision. Still, the fact that he's even in the conversation for Sunday changes everything. This is an offense that's been grinding through mud for the last few games, struggling to find balance, and getting their lead back on the field could open up so much more. With Irving in the lineup, the running game becomes a legitimate threat again. And when that happens, suddenly the passing lanes start to open too. And listen, all due respect to Rachaad White and Sean Tucker. Those guys have stepped up, but they don't scare defenses the same way Bucky does. Defenses have been able to key in on Emeka Egbuka, double-teaming him, sometimes even throwing 3 defenders his way just to shut him down. That's what happened last week. Tez Johnson found space, sure, but only because Egbuka was drawing so much attention. You throw Bucky Irving back into that mix, and suddenly Tampa can get creative again. You can't overload coverage on one guy when another threat is sitting in the backfield waiting to break loose. That's the kind of dynamic that can completely flip a game script. And speaking of Tez Johnson, how about that kid? When these teams met in the preseason, Buffalo had no answer for him. He was slicing through coverages like it was nothing, and it was one of those performances that made you go, okay, this guy might really be something. The idea of pairing him with a healthy Bucky Irving again, that's got to be keeping the Bills' defensive staff up at night. Now, from the Bills' perspective, the focus is squarely on their passing game, or maybe, more accurately, the lack of consistency in it. You look at the numbers and they tell one story. Top 10 in several categories, efficient in spots, productive overall. But then you actually watch the games, and it's clear something's just off. The rhythm isn't there. It feels like Josh Allen is having to pull magic out of his hat on almost every drive, and that's not sustainable, not against good defenses. The problem? They're going into this game without Dalton Kincaid, their best and most reliable pass catcher. That's a blow, no way around it. They could get some help if Josh Palmer or Gabe Davis make it back, and if so, that's a much-needed boost. Davis, in particular, had one of his best games the last time these two teams met, catching everything that came his way in those RPO sets. Maybe they try to go back to that blueprint, get him involved early, build confidence, and open up the field. Still, without Kincaid, this passing game loses a lot of its rhythm. There's been some great moments, the Kansas City and Baltimore games, for example, where Allen looked completely in sync with his weapons. But then there have been other matchups, like against Miami or Atlanta, where the offense just sputtered. The timing, the spacing, the confidence, it all disappeared. Even New England gave them fits, and that's not exactly a defensive juggernaut these days. The truth is, the Bills' offense right now feels like it's stuck between what it used to be and what it's trying to become. They've got some talent at wide receiver. Khalil Shakir has shown flashes. Keon Coleman is developing. But let's be real, this isn't the kind of receiver room that strikes fear into opponents. When Josh Allen drops back, you almost get the sense that he's doing too much because he has to. And that's a dangerous place to live as a quarterback. You take away Kincaid, and sure, Dawson Knox can fill in, but it's not the same. Knox is solid, but he's not that mismatched nightmare that Kincaid is in the middle of the field. The good news is Buffalo can still use its tight ends and running backs creatively in the passing game, especially since Tampa's defense has been vulnerable to backs catching passes out of the backfield. But if the Bills want to control this game, they've got to find a way to rediscover rhythm, something that looks and feels more sustainable than just Josh, go make something happen. Now, let's be honest here. As long as Josh Allen is under center, the Bills always have a chance. That guy's a one-man highlight reel. But even with that kind of talent, there's only so much freelancing you can do before it catches up to you. You can feel it. The fan base is starting to get anxious. They know this roster is talented, but they also know that without a true number one receiver, there's a ceiling. Imagine if they could find someone like Jeremiah Smith in the draft, a guy who could change everything for Allen and finally give him that top-tier target to grow with for the rest of his prime. Allen turns 30 in May. The clock's ticking on the window, and if Buffalo doesn't get him that game-changing receiver soon, they risk wasting the best years of his career. There were rumors about a possible trade for Jalen Waddle, but it fell through because the Bills didn't want to give up their first-round pick from 2026. Kind of a head-scratcher, honestly. When you've got a quarterback like Josh Allen, you push the chips in now. You go all in. Because this offense, as it stands, has too many question marks. Keon Coleman, who looked promising early on, has been fading week by week. There's just not enough reliability on the perimeter, and when that happens, defenses can get aggressive, knowing they don't have to respect every matchup. So here we are, Tampa, with a possible spark on offense if Bucky Irving suits up, and Buffalo still searching for a consistent passing identity. And that's what makes this game fascinating. You've got Todd Bowles, one of the most aggressive defensive minds in the league, cooking up blitzes and disguises, going up against Joe Brady, who's trying to build rhythm and confidence into an offense that's looked lost at times. Tampa ranks near the top in pressure rate, and without one of their main rushers, they might even blitz more. That means Allen is going to have to read and react fast. And when he doesn't, things get messy. We saw it against Atlanta. We saw it against Miami. And you can bet Todd Bowles has seen it too. The chess match between those coordinators could end up deciding this one. Does Brady adjust his protections? Maybe keep extra blockers in? Maybe design some quicker passes to get the ball out before the pressure hits? Or does he stick with that five-man front, trust Allen to make plays, and hope he can beat the blitz with improvisation? Tampa loves to disguise their looks, drop edge rushers into coverage, and send defensive backs flying in from the slot. That's the kind of chaos that can lead to turnovers, or if the Bills are ready for it, big plays the other way. And that's just one side of the ball. When the Bucs have the ball, it's all about how their receivers handle Buffalo's zone defense. The Bills run zone on over 70% of their snaps, and that could play right into the strengths of guys like Egbuka and Tez Johnson. Egbuka has been fantastic at finding soft spots, settling into space, and turning short gains into big ones. Tez, meanwhile, thrives after the catch. If the Bucs get both of those guys rolling, especially with Bucky Irving back to keep the defense honest, it could be a long day for Buffalo's secondary. And let's not overlook the trenches. Tampa's interior offensive line has been shaky, dealing with injuries and depth issues, while Buffalo's defensive tackles have been inconsistent. It's one of those matchups where neither side is dominant, so whoever holds up better could tilt the game. If Baker Mayfield gets clean pockets to work from, he can exploit the middle of the field, especially against that soft zone coverage. But if Buffalo find a way to get pressure up the gut, force him off his spot, it could be a completely different story. So yeah, this game's loaded with storylines, returning stars, offensive questions, defensive schemes colliding. It's the kind of matchup that can redefine both teams' narratives depending on who shows up. And when that ball kicks off, it won't just be about yards and stats. It'll be about which team finally figures itself out before it's too late. When you really start digging into this matchup, you realize it's not just about who has the better roster on paper. It's about who executes when the pressure is on, who adapts faster when things start going sideways, and who's willing to make adjustments in real time. The Bills and the Buccaneers both have the kind of teams that can look unstoppable for a few drives and then suddenly go ice cold for a quarter. That inconsistency has been haunting both sides, and this Sunday might be where one of them finally breaks that pattern. From Tampa's perspective, the key is control. If Bucky Irving is indeed ready to go, then this offense has a real chance to dictate tempo. The Buccaneers can't afford to get into a shootout with Josh Allen. That's a dangerous game of play. What they need is balance, sustained drives, and a little bit of rhythm, something that's been missing for weeks. Irving changes everything there. He's not just a downhill runner. He's a playmaker. He gives Baker Mayfield a safety valve, a guy who can take a short pass and turn into 20 yards before anyone knows what happened. That takes pressure off Baker, keeps the defense guessing, and helps the offense stay on schedule. Because here's the thing about Baker. When he's protected and working in rhythm, he's good. Really good. But when the pocket starts collapsing, when the run game disappears, and he's asked to do too much, that's when the mistakes creep in. And Buffalo knows that. Sean McDermott's defense is built to bait quarterbacks into those kinds of mistakes. Zone looks that shift post-snap, disguise pressures, linebackers dropping under routes that look open at first. It's smart, it's disciplined, and it punishes bad decisions. That's why getting Irving back matters so much. Without him, Tampa's offense has been predictable. Defenses have been able to key in on their receivers, sit in zone, and force Baker to take low-percentage throws. But with a legitimate backfield threat, play action becomes dangerous again. You can sell the fake, freeze the linebackers for a split second, and that's often all you need to get a guy like Emeka Egbuka or Tez Johnson open in space. It's football geometry. Shift one piece, and everything else changes. Now, from Buffalo's side, the focus all week has been on how to jumpstart this passing game without Kincaid. Joe Brady knows he can't just ask Josh Allen to play hero ball all game. He needs structure, quick reads, rhythm throws, and maybe a little creativity with the running backs. James Cook has quietly become one of the most dangerous dual-threat backs in the league. He's not just fast. He's smooth, patient, and his acceleration out of cuts is lethal. The Bucs just gave up 2 massive touchdown runs last week, so you know they've been hearing about that all week in film sessions. But it's not just about the running lanes. Tampa has also struggled with running backs catching passes, and that's where Cook could hurt them the most. If you're Buffalo, you've got to make Tampa defend every inch of the field. Screens, swing passes, angle routes. Anything to get Cook and Ty Johnson in space. Force those linebackers to move sideline to sideline. Make them think twice before blitzing, and let Allen work off that. The Bills don't need fireworks on every drive. What they need is consistency, methodical drives that build confidence. Defensively, the Bills have their own set of question marks. Their interior defensive line is thin, and against a physical back like Bucky Irving, that could become a real issue. Daquan Jones is back, but he's still working his way into full form after that calf injury. Deion Walker, the rookie, flashes real potential, but is still learning how to process what's in front of him. That means Tampa could have some success running between the tackles, especially if their guards hold up. And that's where the chess match really comes in. Do the Bills gamble and bring extra bodies in the box, risking one-on-one coverage outside against guys like Egbuka and Johnson? Or do they stay patient, play their zone, and hope the front four can hold their own? Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. Buffalo may be facing more than just icy winds this season. It's the storm brewing inside the locker room that has everyone talking. In a moment that's already shaking the NFL rumor mill, franchise quarterback Josh Allen reportedly dropped a bombshell statement that has players, coaches, and fans reeling. If he comes to the Bills, I'm out. No one knows exactly who he is, but insiders close to the team say the tension has been building for weeks. Some point to a controversial free agent with a history of locker room drama. Others to a star receiver whose name has been quietly linked to Buffalo in recent trade whispers. Whatever the case, Allen's alleged outburst has ignited speculation about fractures within what was once considered one of the most tightly knit teams in the league. Witnesses say the comment wasn't made in front of cameras or press. It slipped during a private conversation that somehow found its way into the public sphere. Now, social media is ablaze. Fans are torn between defending their quarterback's passion and questioning whether Buffalo's leader has let frustration spill too far. What's especially curious is the silence coming from the team's front office. No official statements, no denials, no calming press releases. That vacuum has only amplified the whispers that something significant is happening behind the scenes. Could a major roster move really be enough to drive away one of the NFL's top quarterbacks? Or is this all a case of overheated gossip in a city that lives and breathes football? Allen, known for his competitive fire and loyalty to his teammates, has rarely been caught in public controversy, which makes this story, true or exaggerated, all the more shocking. Those who know him best describe him as a fierce protector of team chemistry, a player who demands mutual respect above all else. If he's truly drawing a line in the sand, the Bills might be facing more than a personnel decision. They could be staring down a leadership crisis. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.